Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing my January wrap up and my February SFF project TBR. Now I had a very good month of January. I read 10 books in total, so without further ado I'll start. The first book I read was The Ace of Schools by Chris Pudding. This is a steampunk novel and quite simply I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and it is a novel about the Ketty Jay crew. Oh, it's the fourth and final book in this series, by the way. It's just really fun, fast paced and simply brilliant. The crew and the characters are what make this book brilliant. They work together well and they also argue in a realistic manner, which is just really nice to see. And also Chris Pudding certainly has a talent for writing action scenes, quite iconic ones actually, and all 4 books are brilliant, so I'm very happy about these. I'll probably reread them again in the future, probably next year in fact. The next book I read was The Stand by Stephen King. I read the ebook version because it's a lot lighter obviously than the 1,400 page monster that is the paperback. And I liked the book, but I didn't love it. I actually downgraded it towards the end of the month to the 3 stars that it now has on Goodreads. It's good, but there are significant flaws with it. It's not horror either. On Goodreads I've noticed, and to be honest it's to be expected, most of Stephen King's books tend to get classified as horror automatically because Stephen King is the horror writer. But this is not horror in any sense. This is a post-apocalyptic fantasy. And one of the things I didn't like was the ending was a bit weak, plus the whole sort of good versus evil, God versus Satan idea, which I thought would be stronger in the book. That was barely there. So it was good, just not brilliant. The next book was the 3rd in the Hyperion Canter series, and that is Enderman by Dan Simmons. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Only just 5 out of 5 stars though, to be honest. It's on the lower end. The first 2 books got 5 out of 5 stars without question. This just about managed it. And whilst it's still brilliant, it doesn't have quite the same feel as the first 2. But it's still a fun adventure with some very interesting ideas in it. And it does have a more similar feel to the first book, which was simply amazing. The next set of books is for my SFF project, and it's for the fantasy part of it, and that is The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit by Tolkien. Now I have this interesting looking edition where one side is red, the other side is yellow, and the top is green. And the books match yellow, red, green, and The Hobbit is gold. I did like these books. They didn't work for me that well. I mean, I gave The Hobbit 4 out of 5 stars, and the others I think I gave all of them 4 out of 5 stars actually. I liked them, I didn't love them. I tried reading them in my mid-teens, I think it was, well over a decade ago, and they didn't work for me then at all. I mean, I actually couldn't even finish The Fellowship then. Obviously that was just, you know, a teenage thing presumably. I've read them now and I can read them without an issue, but they're still not my favourite books ever, and I'm certainly not going to class them as something that I will reread on a regular basis by any means. Although I'm more inclined towards reading The Hobbit again than the other 3. I enjoyed The Hobbit more. It felt more concise and a bit more sort of compact. The next book is the science fiction book of my SFF project, and that is The Machine Stops by Ian Foster. I have a ebook version which you can download for free, and this is a short story science fiction novel. The time frame is not exactly known, but it's probably the near future supposedly. The world is very different from what it is now, and everybody has got to a point where everything is just within easy reach of this machine. Nobody has to do anything. Everybody just stays at home in their little sort of tiny rooms, and everything is done for them by this giant, essentially what is a supercomputer that sort of controls the world. And obviously the idea of it, well, hence the name of the book, is the machine does indeed stop or fail. You know, and what would that mean if we give up our humanity, almost the essence of what we are, to be so lazy and basically to rely on machinery so much? The questions raised are really interesting, and indeed I'm still trying to figure out what exactly they are even now, even though it's been over 3 weeks. The penultimate book is the last book in the Hyperion Cantor series, and that is the Rise of Enderman by Dan Simmons. This is the only one of the 4 books that didn't get 5 stars. It only got 4. It didn't feel quite the same as the previous 3. The ending as well, because obviously it's ending the whole series off, felt a bit fractured in some odd way, and it almost felt like he realised that he was coming to the end of the book and he had to finish, and it didn't sit right with me for some reason. It's science fiction, of course, same as the others, and it is brilliant. However, it's just not quite living up to the standards of the previous 3, although to be honest that would be hard work. And finally, the last book I read was Rendezvous with Rama by Arthur C. Clarke. This is the Masterworks edition, one of the yellow ones that you used to be able to see on my shelf. This is a very interesting book because it doesn't focus on characters as such. Instead, it introduces the ship Rama, which is this giant cylindrical ship that's mysteriously just started flying into our solar system, as a character, and it's got a almost personality, which, considering it's just a giant cylindrical little tube, that's quite impressive. And it's the wonder of what could happen if we saw alien life in our galaxy. The other thing I really liked about this book, which got 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads, is the fact that the galaxy in it is not at war. They're not all murdering each other like some science fiction books do. The galaxy is spread out on Venus and Mars and Mercury and such, and the planets actually actively tried to keep attached and trying to work together to greater ends. And this is actually something that I really like the idea of for a change. Because a lot of science fiction, and indeed a lot of fantasy books, often conflict drives the story. In this it's not. It's curiosity that drives it, same as the human spirit. I will be doing video reviews of the Hyperion Cantor series and the Ketty Jay series in the next month or so, and indeed I will link my written reviews, which are on Goodreads, in the description box below, along with any other appropriate links for this video. So that's it for the books I've read in January. Now on to the few books I'm reading as part of my SFF project in February. I have said this before, but it's just a quick reminder in case anybody would like to join me in reading them and talking about them. And that is Neuromancer by William Gibson. I have the very shiny blue edition. This is science fiction and it's considered the father and sort of original book in the cyberpunk subgenre. I am very, very keen to read this book. And for the fantasy book I'm going to read as part of my SFF project, I'm going to be reading the His Dark Materials trilogy by Philip Pullman, which comprises Northern Lights, otherwise known in the rest of the world as the Golden Compass. Don't know why we know it as Northern Lights, but whatever. The Subtle Knife and the Amber Spyglass. I'm quite eager to read these. They should be quite interesting. As well as these, the BookTube Reading Buddies Goodreads group, which I'm part of, is doing a Fantasy February as well. But I'm not saying what books I'm reading for that. I want to try and keep it a bit more unknown, so then my wrap up for February is a bit more interesting, as you won't know what to expect, I hope. So that's it for the books of this video. If you've read any of these books or would like to read the 2 books that I've mentioned, let me know and we can arrange something and talk about them. And that is it for this video. So thank you for watching and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.